And this is the show you've all been waiting for. Welcome to Power Search. This is part two. Okay, just one hand, too. This is part two with Holly Porter. In part one, we talked about near death experiences. And today she's going to go over some of her spiritual transformation experiences and her out of body experiences. And I'll tell you what, I am so excited. I can hardly wait. In fact, I'm so excited. I'm just going to jump right in and bring Holly on. Holly, so
Hi.
good to see you again.
You too. Thank you for having me
Well,
back.
oh, everybody has just raved about you and can't wait to see you on the show again.
Uh,
And I know we were talking last time about things that you did after your near death experience that you didn't know why you were doing them. You talked about putting together, I want to say it was a package for people, a
uh,
kit, and you put in a rose quartz heart and you
it
put
was for
in a
our
piece of,
doula. Yeah,
yeah,
the gift we gave at the table settings. It was a
yeah,
wood round ornament because it was around Christmas time. So,
that's right.
and in the bag we put rose quartz hearts, and you found
Okay,
yours.
that's where you can see it. Folks, this is what it looks like.
That's
I've got my
exactly what it
little
was.
rose quartz heart that this
Yeah.
is going to always remind me of Holly from this moment forward. So
Aw.
all
Well,
of
it's
you
about
should get
love,
the
so
rose
that's
quartz.
good.
Always brings love in its pureness for the heart. So if you
Yeah.
want to know anything about crystals, you can ask me, but I may not know the answer. But I love them, love them. Well, all of my jewelry is made from various crystals. I got my amethyst on, and
Love it.
anyway, we will
So healing.
leave that healing aside.
That's
So, well, hey, I first want to say, first off, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have got Holly Porter, who is the absolute entrepreneur genius, and I'll tell you, extraordinaire doesn't begin to describe her. And those of you who were on the last show know that. And you share some wonderful, wonderful experiences with us with your near death experience, and some great heaviness. My heart for you, as we talked about you being in the hospital for, whoa, how many days was it? 70?
70. Yeah.
Ah, I just can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. And having to basically start everything over again, from breathing to swallowing to eating to moving. And I'm so, so grateful that that experience didn't take you from us, and that you are here with us to share your experience and stories to inspire all of us and to give us hope. So, yay, I'm excited to have you on again today.
Can't get rid of me that easy.
Well, hey, I know you had many out of body experiences and that you got to travel back many, many years. And so I want to just jump right in and ask you about that and about the spiritual transformation
Yeah.
experiences that you had. And I will let you start where you want to, but I definitely have lots of questions. So,
Sure. Yes, I'll answer anything. So we're continuing from the last show. The last show we talked about the NDE, which is near death experience. So there's three different things. There's near death, and then there's a spiritual transformational experience, and then there's out of body experiences. If there's more, I don't know about them, but I didn't know about those three until about a year ago. And I hadn't listened to very many people's stories about them. So it was good because I felt like my experience didn't get tainted, right, by confusing
right.
it with others. And there was a lot of COVID fog going on. But what's clear is clear. And the out of body was interesting because I had a whole bunch of those, more than any. I mean, the others I just had one of. But out of body, I traveled, and I didn't go in forward in time. I went back in time. And it was interesting because where I would land was a town called Perwin, Utah. And there it's tiny. It's a little pioneer town.
Itty
It's about an
bitty.
hour from my home is all, but I never felt like I had any connection to Perwin. It was just an odd place to land all the time. And I talked about when I traveled in my bed.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I told the story about how an ambulance hooked up to my room, so to speak, like a Connex type thing, their storage container, and it would
Yeah.
move me where I would go in my travels. And I mentioned this a little bit in the last show that I believe that I took my bed with me because I think I believed that if I didn't go with my body, it didn't come with me, I wouldn't get it back.
Right.
That makes sense, right? So my bed went with me. And so it would load us up and then take us on our travels. And I don't remember it happening like that all the time. I mostly remember going in my bed and going to these places, right? And
Mhm.
so I realized after doing a little research, that's how I have found out and put a lot of the pieces to the puzzle of everything together
Right.
over the last couple of years. I realized after doing research that I knew this house that I was in. I knew it looked familiar. It's actually a museum in Parowan that the city owns now. And that's like the
Oh.
tour place. They do tours in it. And it was Jesse M. Smith. He was a pioneer. He never lived there that much, though. He had several wives because polygamy was big back in the pioneer days for the Mormons. And
All right, I got to stop you right there.
okay,
Everyone, Mormons do not practice polygamy now,
no,
and if a
no.
Mormon does, they will be excommunicated from the church. So all of you
Well,
who
no,
hear
wait.
Mormon and
In the church,
automatically, as soon as you hear Mormon and automatically think
yeah,
polygamist, not the case. Mormons are not polygamous. They were a
right.
long time ago because so many of the men died and they needed them to help take care of the women. And it wasn't illegal at that point. And when the
And women
government
couldn't
came
own
in,
land. They were being murdered, a lot of them.
yeah,
And they couldn't own the land. And so the men would marry the women because it
yeah,
wasn't illegal. And when they made it illegal is when it was changed, right?
yeah,
Yeah. But when you say the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because there's
right,
FLDS, other churches that do still practice,
yeah,
even today, even in our area, they are around.
yeah,
But our ancestors and our pioneers, relatives were polygamous, a lot of them on
right.
certain sides of our families, including mine. So Jesse M. Smith was this, and I knew he was related. I thought he was a grandfather, but I wasn't quite sure how. So when I got home, we have a book. I looked in there and I found him, and he was my great grandfather. So I was in his home in Parowan, Utah, many times. Like I said, I didn't ever see him. I don't remember having much interaction with people. It was more of a visual thing. So it's like when you see time travel shows, they go back there and they're there watching, but live. That's how it
Yeah.
was. So I didn't interact with anybody. Oh, I was reincarnated, nothing like that. I was like visiting and I was there. The biggest story about any of that stands out to me that was a little creepy. There were a lot of creepy things actually. And bad things happen in good families, right? We know that. There was
Well, and good things happen in bad families. It just
right.
things
Yeah,
happen.
exactly. So no judgment here, especially with what I got told coming back with that. I'm not judging. It's just was an interesting observation of things and how things were being done. And there was a lot of interesting things, to say the least. But this one particular thing I want to share was there was this creepy man. He almost looked Jewish, like he had that Jewish nose. I hope that's not politically incorrect.
Well, every
And
culture, every region of the country, every region of the world have got a common look.
yeah,
And
that's how
so,
it makes sense.
Italians, you can tell an Italian look. You
Right,
can tell an Asian look. You can tell, yeah, Jewish, and they
yeah.
all have a look.
So there was so he had a Jewish look about him. So no judgment there. It was his countenance that was very dark. And so I must have known what was going to happen and then went back to time or just a little bit, like fast forwarded a couple minutes because I knew what was going to happen. And then I waited for it to happen because I knew. Does that make sense? So I was there and I'm standing there and the door opens and I know that in a couple seconds after the door opens and he's right there, right at my left shoulder, right. I know something's going to drop and break and there's some chaos going on, but nobody's in there. There was some chaos going on. And I could feel his breath on me. I'm standing there and I'm praying. So nobody obviously could see me because he didn't see me, but I didn't know that. Like, I just remember this fear and this panic and this, like, I was scared, but I knew what was going to happen. And so he's there and I'm feeling his breath as he walks in. and he's just like right here. And I remember counting 3, 2, 1, crash, like whatever fell and broke. And I remember him looking, and I felt him looking. I didn't see him looking because I was looking straight forward and I was frozen. Yeah. And I remember just that fear of like, I was scared of him. Like he was very, very dark. And he right in my ear goes and shakes his head. No, freak the crap out of me. I don't know much more about that story other than there were just a lot of creepy things. I mean, obviously he wasn't, you see how